Okay. So next speaker is Ilia, also regular participant in the conference. Also adding an accent with education in the field of education. That's an old picture of him participating in the conference. That's two books. One of it, History of Life Extension in the 20th Century, is full with very interesting facts about all our projects in the last century. My students are very fond on these facts, very interesting. I would like also to stress on this article of Ilia. It is about our last achievement, the achievement of ILA. ILA is International Longevity Alliance. It is the acceptance of the World Health Organization in its 11th edition of, I forgot how it is in English. Anyway, it is great achievement, and Ilia has a crucial contribution to in the process of advocating to World Health Organization for change in ISD. About recognizing aging as a disease. As a poster to this conference, I put the screen from the site of ILA, where there is links to the article of Ilia and some others, and several more links on the topic. So it is great achievement. We have to say that in the recent 11 or 12 years, the main task of ILA was advocating for that changes. Now, finally, we did succeed in that. So, Ilia, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Do you see my presentation? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, Angel. It is indeed a pleasure to be here. I think it is my 9th year since 2014. Always a pleasure, always glad to be with friends and talk on urgent topics. As you said, my subject is longevity promotion with an emphasis on education. This is my main, my main occupation in life, to promote longevity in different aspects. I wrote a couple of books about history of life extensionism, about multidisciplinary promotions of longevity. But the main task is, of course, education. How do we teach people about longevity, and not just to entertain them, but actually to teach them to help advance health longevity for all, as specialists, as supporters, as advocates, activists, as citizen scientists, even people who can intelligently apply those longevity therapies when they're already available, and to help make them available faster. So what do we teach them? How do we teach them? We often talk about longevity promotion in terms of marketing, like we have to sell somebody to someone. I think it makes more sense to talk about longevity promotion in terms of education, and the emphasis will be different because there are different techniques in education than in marketing. Also, the outcomes may be different. So what do we teach about longevity? Some basic stuff, for starters, we want to increase awareness about this topic among everybody, not just specialists, academia, but in all walks of life. So first of all, we teach the basic principle of neuroscience, that in order to extend health longevity, we need to intervene into the generative aging processes. Basically, what it means is that aging is obviously the main risk factor or the main underlying cause of chronic diseases, which increase in time with age. So if we're really serious about preventing age-related diseases, we have to intervene into aging. And this means that we also have to recognize aging as a medical condition, something that we can intervene into. Otherwise, it's just semantics. This is the main point of neuroscience, of longevity medicine, that we have to explain to people. For many people, it's not obvious. They understand that, people get sicker with age, but the next step they don't make, that if we really want to prevent sickness, we have to intervene into aging. Actually, this point should become obvious to everybody, especially in the recent period, the period of COVID. We see that COVID affected mostly the older people. So the logical step would be to understand that if we really want to prevent, age-related mortality, we don't have to just look at the virus. We also have to look at the underlying ill health of older people. So we need to intervene into aging, improve the aging process. And we have tried to teach about it a lot with position papers, research papers, conferences, media. I think some progress was made, at least there were increased investments in longevity technology. They say about $2 billion were invested in 2021. So some progress was made, but generally this idea wasn't widely accepted by decision makers, by the public. People still look at viruses as viruses and age-related risk factors as something separate that they don't want to deal with. But we will continue to teach about it, continue to advocate about it. And as a result, I would even say that as a result of this lack of understanding of the need for preventive anti-aging medicine, is that we're actually not doing so great with all our vaccines, with all our lockdowns. We're not doing so great. During the past 2 years of the epidemic, the life expectancy decreased globally by 2 years. Can you imagine? Every year life expectancy is dropping 1 year. If we speak about longevity escape velocity, which is increase of 1 year of life expectancy every year, here what we call it an extinction velocity. Every year we lose a year of life expectancy. Actually, we lost about 15 years of progress. That we were very proud as life extensionists. We always said, when our life expectancy is increasing, so we can do more and more and more. There's no end to it. But we see actually it's not a divine decree from God that it will always increase. It can drop also considerably. So now our messaging, also our teaching messaging should change and say that actually, we have to actually remember how to get back to the level of 2019. And then we can resume our progress. It's a bit different. A different stance. And I am sorry to say that actually Bulgaria, the host of this conference, is one of the record holders in this declining life expectancy. It lost about 4 years of life expectancy in 4 years. So really among the worst, sorry to say, but so it's really time to sound the alarm, time to invest, public health efforts to actually return to at least to the levels of 2019. And then to move forward is really an urgent national task and international task to increase not just longevity, but also healthy longevity. And it is possible. It is possible. We see that at least for 70 years since the end of the World War, life expectancy was increasing. Also, healthy life expectancy was increasing. And now we have proofs of principle that actually also intervention into aging is possible. I don't have time to go into details, but there are several classifications of major aging processes, such as SENS, strategies for engineered negligible senescence, or hallmarks of aging, or pillars of aging of the NIH Neuroscience Interest Group. And all they show that it is possible to intervene into aging in experiments in animal models, and there are some emerging human experiments, and as a result, to prevent age-related disease, to extend life and healthy life. So all we need to do is to take this experiment and accelerate the translation into practice. It is also part of longevity education. First of all, we have to teach people about the aging process. In most, I would say, in the vast majority of universities, aging is not even in the curriculum anywhere. not in biology department, even not in the medical department. People don't know what aging is, what is aging process, what classification systems are. And then we can also teach about possibilities of intervention. On this basis, on the base of trained specialists, we can also advance with clinical translation. Another topic that we have to teach and learn is about measurements of aging. We cannot intervene into something that we don't know how to measure or we don't know how to diagnose. It's just hand waving if we don't know how to actually measure those aging processes and the risk for age-related disease. So it will be a huge area of discussion, of research to establish reliable evidence-based biomarkers of aging, and on their basis to create actual therapies, and also to teach people to utilize those biomarkers in their real life. In COVID, actually everyone was tested, but now we also need to teach them to test for aging. Still, the main idea remains that by intervention into aging, we will be able to prevent multiple age-related diseases, age-related multimorbidity, extend health longevity. And what it means is that we recognize aging as a medical condition. We can call it a disease or something else, but we need to recognize it as a medical indication. And I'm very happy to say, as also Angel emphasized, that as of this year, aging is recognized as a medical condition in the International Classification of Diseases of the WHO, the ICD-11 system, not as a disease per se. We need to remember, sometimes the word disease angers some people, but for our purposes, it does matter. It is recognized as two types of code, as etiology or causality code, the so-called aging-related code, and as a set of general symptoms or syndrome code, the decline of aging-related capacity. So you have two types of code in the ICD, according to which you can treat aging as a medical problem. So you are welcome. And I'm happy to say that really the international longevity movement, the advocacy movement, played a crucial role. I wouldn't say it's only ILA, but ILA did play a role. But also other organizations, generally the whole our advocacy for at least 10 years, we actually brought to this result, but this is only the first step. This is just to show that aging is a medical condition. The next steps will be to actually learn how to diagnose it and how to test the effects of intervention to it. But at least this is the first important steps that we also have to teach. Let me assure you, lots of policymakers, a lot of medical practitioners are not even aware those two codes exist. They are hardly known even in the longevity community. So we also need to teach people that actually it's already there. You can already treat aging as a medical problem. You can even get reimbursement for treatment of aging. Still, the next steps will be to develop evaluation criteria to provide evidence-based treatment, something that actually works according to something that we can measure. Not just, once again, not just to wave your hands, but actually to say that such and such effect occurred. We're yet far from such reliable measurements, but we're hopefully getting there. And we need such measurements not just to filter out snake oil treatments, but actually to encourage treatments that work. In this regard, also machine learning will be important, and computational approaches. Still, this will be a huge area of research and also of education. If you don't even educate people, students at an early stage that there is such a problem, where do you get the specialists to actually deal with it? There will be all kinds of people who will not be trained enough and aware of this problem and try to deal with it. And of course, also a huge part of longevity education is education just about the basic healthy lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, rest, life-affirming attitude, the will to live. All this still needs to be taught to people. Of course, we should know about it, but not everybody practices it. So we should still emphasize it in longevity education. And another part of education is actually advocacy. In some advocacy circles, especially in the United States, people prefer even not to call the activity advocacy or activism. they prefer to call it education. You know, you don't advocate with a politician, you educate a politician. So there's less responsibility, but also more truthful. You know, you just teach the politician something they don't know, but they should know. So also when we speak about advocacy and activism, we actually educate people to understand about the importance of aging and the need to intervene into it. And part of it is actually ethical education, to even explain to people that extending health longevity is important. Not everybody agrees with it, actually. And a lot of people believe that our lifespan should be limited, that we should all die at a certain age, and that the aging is normal and age-related diseases are normal. We shouldn't just bother. But actually, no, we have a strong ethical, philosophical tradition that actually shows that life extension is an important task. And this is also something we need to know, to teach people as a part of longevity education. And a part of this education, of the ethical education, is also combating existential risks. I actually added this slide a few minutes ago in response to Gennady's talk. Actually, we see that many life extensions, such as GBS Haldane and also Bernard Shaw, argued that in order to combat existential threats, in order for human civilization, for humanity to survive and not just die out, it is important to pursue longevity at the individual level, because long-lived people will have enough wisdom also to overcome the threats of nuclear extinction, and even become resistant to radiation, which would be another safeguard. So even as a means against existential threat, longevity is important. I have some opinions about the current situation and where things are going. I will not go into this, but in any case, I absolutely agree with Gennady in that life extension philosophy can really be, if not an alternative, at least to be a force for the global peace, for global survival, even from the basis of longevity. Just as individual survival will also be driven to care about our environment, about our peace. And actually, this point is agreed by both religious and non-religious philosophers. I strongly disagree with the point that, you know, life extension is only for the atheists or only an atheistic thinkers. You have many atheists who believe that it's okay that we die and are eaten by worms. No, there are also both religious and non-religious thinkers who think that we should strive for our longevity. That is something that can unify us all, also as a part of global peace effort. And as a pragmatic, as a utilitarian effort, we're talking in an economic forum. We need to understand that longevity correlates pretty much with every value that we have, also with every economic value, such as education and income. And these values synergize each other. With greater income, you have better chances for longevity. With greater education, you also have better chances for income and longevity. So longevity is a good driver, a good proxy for other values as well, including economic values. This is also something we need to teach. And we see that, you know, longevity is the correlate of the valuation of life and peacefulness and education. The Nobel laureate in economics, Amartya Sen, said that, you know, actually mortality is the main indicator of economic prosperity. It's not just some numbers of monies that are written somewhere. It's actually your ability to survive. This is the main indicator of economic prosperity. And longevity is just another measure of it. Of course, there arise all kinds of objections to extending longevity that we also have to argue with, also teach people to argue. So longevity will bring diminished change and spiritual stagnation and suffering, and death gives the meaning to life. All the things that the transhumanists and life extensionists always argue against, and there are all the standard arguments against it, such as the potential for wisdom, for learning will be increased with longevity. So we all need to know and learn and teach those ethical arguments. And then another teaching point is about overpopulation. You know, pretty much every person you talk about life extension will immediately say, you know, without thinking twice, you know, it will bring overpopulation and people will, you know, starve and whatnot. It has never been observed in practice. even at the empirical grounds, we see that life extension in developed countries is always accompanied by improvement in quality of life and also by diminishing birth rates. And even the technologies that we have and the future ones will be able to supply the need for the needs of the population. It will actually be a nice economic research project to show that life extension will not be accompanied by any type of starvation or overpopulation. Actually, this kind of calculation was done in the 60s, but many people forgot them. Actually, from the same book that Haldane's work about agricultural productivity, we also know that even in the 60s there was enough agricultural technology to feed tens of billions of people, but now we suddenly forgot, and and we again speak about overpopulation, starvation, and the food crisis. Why? I don't know. Maybe we just don't know how to use these technologies. But the fact is that life extension shouldn't be accompanied by overpopulation. And also, in purely economic terms, people need to understand that longevity is needed for economic development. It is needed for savings in healthcare, welfare systems. There were done calculations that, at least in the United States, extending healthy life expectancy will be accompanied by billions and hundreds of billions of savings for the healthcare and life insurance systems. Also in Israel, and I think these same calculations can be done for Bulgaria, also as a teaching point to show that actually we do need to improve our health and longevity, also to fight economic problems, to improve our economy. So all this needs to be made clear to everybody. The general public, the pharmaceutical, medical technology industry, health insurance, life insurance, regulators, policymakers, scientists, students. Everybody needs to understand about the importance of aging for global health. Everybody needs to have this goal for health longevity. This is our goal as longevity educators, and various means, online means, offline means. We need to really make longevity education a general topic for all, as we would health education, I don't know, basic math, anything. So I hope this happens. And I think everybody can be involved in some way. Everyone can learn some longevity science, not just as a professional, but also as a layperson, because from massive interest, also the professional involvement will be enhanced. We can participate, we can join others like International Longevity Alliance and all the others. We can educate for healthy life prolonging lifestyle. We can educate for support of science. We can advocate for more support for longevity science. All this it can be part of longevity education. So I think I should stop here and just welcome all to increase longevity education. Thank you.
Microfonul se включил.
Thank you, Ilia. I would like to put the comments in order to have them recorded. So please, questions and comments on the presentation of Ilia.
So
Everybody.
if nobody has a comment, I have one comment. May I?
Yes, please.
Yes. So first, most important, thank you, Ilia, for this great presentation. I think I agree about 100%. Probably if I I take a look again, it will be only 99%. But and thank you for this great quote that I didn't know about the fact that living longer is also very important for resilience. I have so you are one of the longevists speaking, and for me you are totally right, speaking about the sharp decrease of life expectancy these last years, do you have an idea why the, let's say, longevity community is not speaking a lot about this, and some, I would say, in many longevity news, longevity newsletters, and so on. Yeah, there is almost there is not much about this decrease of longevity. Well, of course, one of the reasons is people who are optimistic want to be still be optimistic, but for me, it's not enough. So, what's your thinking about that?
Great question. Thank you very much, Didier. Indeed, we often complain about the general public. I mean the life extensionists. You know, the general public, they don't understand how important aging is, and they don't understand about the future technologies. They rationalize their deaths, and so on. But actually, we ourselves have a lot of preconceptions, a lot of standard thinking that we are not easily going away from. For example, we strongly believe that life expectancy will be increasing no matter what. And when we are shown the facts that actually for 2 years life expectancy is dropping around the world, and all our technologies, are not able to do much about it. So we kind of reluctant. It's kind of goes a bit against our core beliefs. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe many people just not aware of these facts. Actually, really not many are aware. I don't know why, but even the health professional level, not many people are aware of this drastic decline in life expectancy. Also probably part of our biases, of our kind of thing. But that's a part of education. Like we educate people to intervene into aging, we also need to educate them about the current kind and threatening situation in terms of life expectancy, and try to get the support, at least to get back to our previous levels, and then to continue our progress.
Okay, other questions and comments? David, you are skeptical about the point of Ilia?
I'm not sure that just telling people they can live a long time will automatically make us more concerned about longer term issues such as possible climate change in 50 or 60 years' time. Because after all, many people already care quite passionately about their children and grandchildren, but they don't seem to be that concerned, therefore, about climate change that might affect their grandchildren in 50 or 60 years' time. Well, I think there are some other deeper psychological reasons why we are not able to consider these problems. And it often comes down to more complex things. So I think that's part of the answer, but I don't think it's the whole part. But I don't want to come across as critical to Ilia's talk. I think it's absolutely correct. We need to have a substantial improvement in the caliber of material we present to the world about life extension. And we can't go with the notion that, hey, it's automatically going to get better. No, I've never argued that we're going to just ride an automatic curve into a better future. Instead, more of the same is not going to be sufficient. We need a disruptive new approaches. And these disruptive new approaches will be things different from what are currently being done. So I'm looking ahead to new rejuvenation biotechnology solutions rather than simply getting a little bit better at what we're doing now. In fact, the trends are worrying. And we're not going to solve things by continuing the present trends. We have to dig deeper and accelerate tomorrow's rejuvenation biotechnology.
Yes, thank you, David. Indeed. I will still emphasize that, yes, thinking about our children is important, but it turns out that for many people it's not sufficient. All right, as some king said, after me the deluge, and he probably had children, so he probably didn't care much about them. So at least when it gets to our skin, that we will need to live in a world with better ecology, with better economy, and we will have a chance to get there. I think it will also turn our change our thinking in more in the direction of long-term safety, in the direction of probably less risk-taking even. So I do believe that the longevity promotion is a very important part also of ecological, of economic improvement.
Okay, other questions and comments? If not, I have three additional information points. One is thank you, Ilia, that you supplied more information about ISD 11 and stating aging as a medical condition. It was my intention to speak about and to invite you at the end of the session on that. So we did something and saved some time from the schedule of today.
I'm here all the time.
Really important, and also, as you will see at the end of the session, I am going to involve that achievement in the annual statement on longevity and transhumanism we have to work out at the end of the session. Second thing, COVID. If you look in the program, there is several presentations on the last day of the conference about COVID in Bulgaria, and I put two posters of, not all of course, but two important posters. There is much more than two. One of it is very depressing, awful, about all facts about devastating results of COVID in Bulgaria. Bulgaria lost 1% of the population as excessive death. Not longevity, expected, I forgot the English word.
Life expectancy at birth.
Fall down with 4+ years, hopefully. The death rate in some areas is more than 2% of the population. It is because this poster is the most detailed description of all these awful facts, because there is no other name but awful. In my view, you mentioned politics and policies. In Bulgaria, one of the main reasons of these awful results was, of course, first of all, awful aggressive ignorance, which is my intention to speak about, and populist politics. At the moment, we have 4 and with the possible 5th elections in less than a year and a half, and all politicians are competing in populism. And the populism requires to reject all measures against COVID. And the result is awful. And the third thing, the point that longevity and life expectancy could be considered as indicator of overall economic prosperity is very good demonstrated in the analysis of one remarkable person, Hans Rosling, and his son, Ole Rosling. Hans unfortunately died. I'm recommending to everybody to use in education and in everyday life and in every discussion the works, the excellent videos of Hans Rosling. I'm reading special lecture, Apology of Hans, to everybody, stressing exactly on that. Life expectancy is a general indicator of overall prosperity. So that's my addition to the topic. So if there is more question and points. David is writing about vital syllabus. I agree. In his book, there is plenty of additional information on that topic. Yes. So, any other comments? If not, thank you very much, Ilia.
Thank you.
We are very much in debt to you for the this contribution.
Thank you.
And we are going to next speaker. For the moment,